Oh no.
Dude, what? What? Was it not recording? What? What, are you serious?
I'm serious.
What?
I'm serious.
What the hell are you talking about?
I'm serious. The record button was never actually pressed. So, anyways, Asimov, great sci-fi author, wrote all these books. He wrote 3 series, starting, 40s, 50s, whatever. There's the Robot series, which is like a buddy cop thing with an android. Okay. Empire series, which is like, 1,000 years in the future or something.
So that's this.
No, and then there's Foundation.
Oh, okay.
And so he wrote these 3 things independently, and then through the years, added in more books, and eventually kind of made it like a continuous thing.
So I really don't know much about, because I know there's like a ton of books, and it's kind of like hard. Yeah. Like you said, it's hard to like figure out where to start. So like he wrote an initial series, and then he kind of like went in and filled in.
Yeah, so later. I think there was a Foundation trilogy.
Because he wrote it from like 1955 to like 1990, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And for me, it was very fun because I decided to read them in the order of...
Chronological?
Story, yeah. Okay. So I read, iRobot, which is before the Robot series. Then I read Caves of Steel or whatever. That's, the Robot series. Okay, yeah. There was a few books there. Then I read the Empire series. And then those go into Foundation. And by reading them like that, it was really fun for me because they're not written in that chronological order. And I don't know if you're familiar, but between like 1950 and 1990, technology got a little better.
Really?
That's what I hear. I'm not a scientist.
Better how?
It just, computers happened. Because the transistor, right, wasn't even like invented when he first started. Right. And so he had to sort of, I guess you can make the decision whether or not you want to like retcon your entire series to say, well, transistors, of course they existed, but I just didn't bring it up because of this reason. Mm-hmm. And so one thing,
what did he do?
Well, one thing that sticks out to me is that I think before things were as advanced as they are now, he had a scene where I don't remember exactly the size, but one of the characters like came out carrying this like box and said, "This box contains all of the books that you would find in a normal library." And it was this. I guess you're supposed to be like wowed as a reader, and I was,
yeah,
because it was shocking to me. Just to think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did he like? Did he retcon it or like?
Sort of. I don't. So that's the thing.
Like that's obviously silly, right? That a giant box contains like 80 kilobytes of data or whatever.
Now
you,
that
address that later or no?
Sort of. So we're in a similar spot in that I read these books like 10 years ago. It was like the last time I read them. And so I don't really remember, honestly, like a lot of it. But I do remember you tried, and I thought that was just fascinating.
You overall liked the series, though?
I did.
More or less?
And we'll talk, I guess, later on about the show and kind of whatever. But my expectation with this series was to have it be maybe something different from normal sci-fi. iRobot, if anyone's read it, it's like an anthology of like short stories involving robots, and it just sort of illustrates a principle, right? Each story like illustrates a principle, like robots can do this, but they can't do this, or the laws of robotics say they can do this, but this is how they got around it. And it's fun to sort of figure out that mystery. It's not so much about, characters and drama, it's about big picture ideas. Now, the Robot series, right, it kind of gets into a little bit more character stuff, but Foundation...
How much is Will Smith in the books?
Most of it.
Yeah.
So I think Asimov knew Will Smith, like he had a character like him in mind.
Yeah, he wrote him in there.
He
like,
basically,
right? Like,
yeah.
Oh, this is perfect for him.
Yeah, and so
I saw Independence Day, and he was like, oh.
Yeah, 1994. He like retconned the whole thing to make sure Will Smith was a feasible character. Oh God, no. Anyways, everybody should read iRobot. But the later books like Foundation, what I liked about them was that it was so big, right? Like the problems you were dealing with, it wasn't like, oh no, she broke up with him, but he's not telling his other friend about it because they have issues. No, it was big, huge, like civilization issues, and there's a lot of sci-fi out there, and I wanted this to be different in that maybe it takes like a bigger approach. Like it's a story that expands like thousands of years as opposed to like 3.
I saw. Did you read some of the reviews? I looked at like Metacritic, and it got like the user reviews are not good. It's like 4 or 5 out of 10 or something like that. Anyway, I looked through it, and like 90% of the bad, like 0 out of 10 reviews are people that read the book and don't like it.
Yeah.
And a main complaint that they have is, and maybe you could speak to this because you actually read it, is like it doesn't stay true to the story at all, basically. Like almost none of these characters exist in the story, and the storyline that we're following through the show is like just completely new, right? Like it's not in the books.
Part of it. I mean,
like Cleon and the Empire and like Anacreon, none of that stuff is in the book, right?
Not exactly. It's more like it wasn't a focal point of the book.
It was
like,
just kind of like mentioned in the background.
Sort of, yeah. It was part of the plot. It wasn't really part of the story, is how I remember it.
Like kind of what you're saying. They were saying that these people that were complaining were saying that like the book is more focused on like macro level stuff, like civilizational, anthropological stuff.
Yes.
But like you can't make a show about that, so it's like.
But that's why I was so looking forward to the show, because I was like, well, it's Apple TV, and this news came out like 3 years ago. I was like, I don't know how they're gonna do it. Maybe this will be like an anthology type series. Fine. But, you have to have characters and drama. I understand that. I'm not against that. And I expect there to be changes to the book, because the way the book is, I don't want to say it reads like an almanac or something. Well, it sort of does, but...
I was going to say, like, that kind of approach that, like, this story takes place over, like, 1 jillion years. Like, it's hard to do in a TV show. But in a book, it's not nearly as hard to
you can explain
things.
It.
I don't know. I mean, like, I get their complaint, I guess, but I also understand why it's not like that.
Right. Changes have to be made, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's
if you're going to make it into a TV show, it's not going to be, like
the books.
For page adaptations.
Read the books and, like, look at DeviantArt while you read it.
The books still exist. Right. Now, you can look at concept art from the show while you read the books.
Yeah, maybe that'll help.
I don't know. Well, let me explain my history with the series.
Well, before that, let me just stop holding this book. I just want to bring up how good this cover looks. This is like super 90s.
You should probably just like put it.
I'm going to, but I want to first show it here. But yeah, this is.
The full quote is one of the most staggering achievements in modern sci-fi.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome.
It's high praise.
I assume they're talking about the cover.
They are. These covers, I tried to get all the books in this cover, so a lot of them are like really worn.
You like this like retro
I love it.
art stuff?
I love this.
I get it. I don't love it as much as you
do. It's so depressing. Like it's so great. This is why I love
Trantor?
Yeah, it's Trantor. And I think the show actually did a pretty decent job. Like I like the way they're showing the show. But here, so I just wanted to show the cover, but we'll get into it. Why don't you talk about your background?
Okay, so I was in Russia.
Oh, that's how it starts?
Yeah, that's how it starts, and that's how it ends also.
Oh, wow.
So I was in Russia for like a study abroad thing.
It's all about Eric.
That's a whole thing to unpack. But anyway,
sure.
So I went there, and I wanted a book to read, and because I was not good at Russian, I had to be an English book.
It's not reading like the Brothers
Karamazov. I read that. And that's also another whole thing. But anyway, so I went to like this market in St. Petersburg. I went to like this market in St. Petersburg, and I was looking for an English book. And obviously I would take anything because like they didn't have a lot of English books, right? So I finally found one. This guy had it. It was like the Second Foundation or something.
Yeah.
It was some random part in the series because like I'm just taking whatever they had, right? And the dude didn't have and couldn't explain where it all started.
Yeah.
So he had like 4 sci-fi books in English. So I just picked that one. I wasn't gonna pick it, but the dude looked so like, because he had a very specific niche item, right? And like I'm the only guy that he's seen in probably like a year that wants to buy it. And I was kind of on the fence, but he looked like so happy that like, oh my God, someone's gonna buy my English Foundation book for the first time like since I've been at this market. So I bought it, and I read it there.
Do you know how much it cost?
No. 30 rubles? I have no idea.
I see. Whatever, yeah.
I have no idea. It was not expensive.
That was the one with the mule?
Yes.
Yeah, that was probably the most memorable, like,
there you go.
Character-driven one.
So I read it there. And then I didn't pick it up ever again.
Yeah.
Not because I liked it, but I don't know.
It's hard it was hard for me to figure out, like, how to read it and when to read them and stuff.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it, but that's the only time I've read Foundation.
Sure. But anyways, good.
There you go.
Good book, and then like I heard about this show being made like 3-4 years ago, and I think Christopher Nolan's like brother was supposed to produce it. Yeah, something like that.
Christopher Nolan's brother. That's funny how that immediately gave me like some sort of like expectation, like, oh, Christopher Nolan's brother.
I mean, that's why they probably did it, is to like create some sort of buzz.
I know, it's like that's that's 1,000 steps removed from Christopher Nolan's going to direct it. His brothers.
This might have actually been good for Christopher Nolan to direct something like this, I feel. But regardless...
Well, he's good at making things confusing, so that would have been nice.
That is true. But, Apple TV, it's kind of new, I guess, when they first started developing the show. And
what were your expectations when you heard they're going to make this show?
When I heard they were going to make the show, I expected it to be bad.
Because my expectation when they're going to make any show is that, it's going to be bad.
That's usually how I start. It's very, very rare that I'm happy.
In general. That's a whole other thing to unpack as well.
Because there have been many book series that I've seen adapted, and Harry Potter was okay.
I thought it was fine.
It was fine. Obviously, Lord of the Rings is but nothing compares with that. But I watched the Golden Compass movie, and that was one of my favorite series. I was like, okay,
book series, right?
Yeah, book series. And I just
watched the HBO show.
I did, and
I got to like 80% of the way through the first season. I stopped.
Same, and I think it doesn't have the drive. Maybe we'll talk about that too. Whatever. But yeah, I have low expectations of most things, including this show. But then I saw there's a show called For All Mankind, also on Apple TV, which is very good. And when I saw that,
that one scene,
it was a great scene. When I saw that, I thought, well, this could be good. And especially when I saw the intro to Foundation, I was like, oh wow, they put money into this.
So, we haven't actually talked about the show.
No.
What, do you want to get into it?
I could leave that for another day.
Part 2?
Yeah.
Foundation season 1. Part 2.
Yeah. I think, that'll be good for the algorithm.
Where do you want to start? Like, what's your overall impression? Do you want to start there?
I would rather I am going to keep watching this show, and I liked it, but I think everybody who watches it probably has the same complaints. And I would say that for me, I would rather watch a show that is sometimes great and sometimes bad, rather than a show that is always mediocre.
I think it's a pretty good summation.
So that's me.
I agree. I liked watching it. I will watch the second season. There's going to be one, right?
Yes.
Sure. I'll watch the second season. I'm interested in continuing, but I did have problems with it for sure. I'd say it's probably overall, it's hard to give it it was 8 out of 10 or 5 out of 10.
I would just rate it as 2 separate shows.
It's because it has really parts that I really didn't like and parts that I really liked, and kind of in the same episode, just in tandem. So yeah, I mean, you could see where in the second season it could go one way or the other. It could be really good, or they can go the other way, it could be really bad, or maybe it'll be the same.
Right.
Overall, I think it's worth. I mean, Apple TV costs $5 a month, right?
And I think almost everybody has some kind of Apple device, so they probably have it for free anyways.
Yeah, I mean, if you pay $5, watch 10 hours of. I mean, I think it's worth it for that. If you're even a little bit interested, and then you'll know if you can't stand it or whatever pretty quickly. So I think it's worth watching or worth considering. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Barrier to entry is low, so you.
I agree.
Well.
I mean, the caveat being if you're into sci-fi,
sure,
just for some random person who likes watching, I don't know, let's say Vikings, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, just some random person. Maybe.
Again, the barrier to entry is so low. If you're interested at all, you can give it a shot.
That's true.
Video, by the way.
So I just want to describe a little bit about what this show is for somebody who hasn't seen it. Basically, this is supposed to be an analog for the fall of the Roman Empire. That's how Asimov wrote it. It takes place way in the future, where there are so many planets and civilizations that people don't even know that Earth is where humanity arose from. And the basis of this show is that there's a man named Harry Seldon who's a mathematician who can kind of predict in broad strokes what the future is going to be for the empire, and sees that it's going to decline significantly, causing a lot of societal problems. And in order to head that off, he wants to start a foundation to be sort of the Wikipedia of the empire's knowledge, so that they can, shorten the amount of dark ages period that humanity is going to have. And that's sort of what everything else is made around. So you have the empire, which is told with the story is told with the Cleonic dynasty. You have Terminus, which is his foundation, which is the story of Salvor Hardin. And then you have Gail Dornick, sort of in the middle, off doing her own thing, figuring out what Harry Seldon's real plan is, with the second foundation, which has to do with the fact that there's people with, I guess, psychic abilities who can kind of help guide the first foundation in their efforts. Just to give a little bit of an overview, I know most people have probably already seen it, but just wanted to say that.
Sure.
So I think it came out, were there 2 episodes to start or 1? I don't even remember.
I think it was just 1.
But I think I watched the first 2 together. So I first watched the show, I saw the intro, and I thought, oh my goodness, this show's going to be amazing. Yeah. I watched the first few scenes, and we'll talk about the characters later, but I
want to get into like the main part that sucks, because there's a main part that sucks.
We'll get there. Let's get through the first 2, because
it's in there already. It starts early.
Sort of. But
all right, go on.
I think the first 2 episodes, it's a little bit slow, it's a little bit confusing, but like that intro, the visuals are so good in this show that I think that just like carries you. Like when it's boring, when it's not, like I don't really have any expectations. I think the visuals and the special effects smoothed over there were a few problems, but it smoothed them over, and it kept me from sort of thinking about them. And it wasn't until maybe episode 3 that I started thinking, wait a minute, I don't like half the show.
It was like episode 3 or 4, I think, when it finally, like, when it was like, well, I guess it's because you didn't know where it was going, and you're like, oh, it's like going here.
Yeah. Because a lot of big things happen. I guess we could talk about this first.
Do you want to talk about, so the special effects overall, they're amazing, right?
They're amazing.
The special effects are great. I mean, it's easy to make
Trantor looks amazing. Right? No, but this is like one step above.
I think it's more, so now special effects are easy to implement now, right?
Yes.
But you have to have a good art direction to
use
your powers for good, right?
Correct. And there are a lot of details. I mean, it's easy to put in like stock special effects or, to
like costume design, character design, set design.
Those
what
things.
Trantor looks like.
Amazing.
Terminus looks like crap, but I mean,
it always looks like crap.
It's a dusty wasteland. It's supposed to be what everything looks like.
Ship design, how it works, like alien design.
Right. What the
all of it amazing.
Because now you can do anything. So it's like, what do you choose to do?
Right. And I think
it's good.
Foundation, Dune came out around the same time. I mean, with both of those, you see, okay, even though it's easy to implement special effects, whatever, you can do a much better job than your peers. And so Foundation, so many things are so good, like special effects, ship design, the way that the ship kind of went through space, or whatever that was, the
jump or whatever.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
So those things definitely keep your interest, even if there's some shaky stuff in the first couple episodes.
Right.
And so I didn't really notice those things at the beginning. And along with that, I guess I'll say, the best thing that this show has probably done, the most memorable thing, is the Empire sort of family.
Oh, sure. Tree. Yeah. That's the best stuff by far. I think.
By far. And so this is what I mean. Like, it doesn't have to stay true to the books for it to be good. You can add in new things. Right. And especially this was such a smart move. So good for so many reasons. Like, it shows you the Empire's decay, and it shows you that sort of, or the change, and it shows you that in human form, and you get to have these great actors, but then you get to have these great actors throughout the entire series if you want. And so
it's a perfect decision. Right?
That was like the best thing by far, because
like it shows you that nothing ever changes. It's stagnant. It's like literally the same one person in 3 stages of life, which is cool.
It's super cool.
And then, like you're saying, because the story takes place over like hundreds of years, that you can keep the same. You don't have to introduce another emperor, totally different person every time.
And you get to have an inner monologue, between the 3 of them, because there's 3 of them. They get to talk as if, they're talking to themselves, but they're talking to each other.
Right.
That, I mean, just...
It's all super dope.
Brilliant writing. Like, that was amazing.
All that stuff was great.
And then the actors who did it, Lee Pace, wow.
Yeah.
Really good.
I mean, they're all really good.
He was in Twilight.
He was?
Yeah. I'll put a picture. I think maybe the third one of the vampires. Okay. It's pretty funny.
Weird.
Yeah. Let's go on.
Well, now my train of thought is completely derailed.
As it should be.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I saw the first episode and I saw there was a little boy. I don't like little kids in anything because they are not...
Usually they're not good actors.
I mean, because they're kids or whatever, and like I don't like the little kiddie stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was happy that was like a one-time thing.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't... You know what I mean?
Right.
I was like, we have to follow this kid around every time. Like, I gotta do my homework.
A couple of scenes that he did have, though,
I thought they were fine.
You remember it because then that dawn becomes the day that's,
it was good.
Making the decisions.
I thought it was fine, but that was my initial impression. Yeah. And I was glad they didn't have him there for the rest of the entire show. You know what I mean?
Right. And then the new Dawn that they did introduce, I liked him. So.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So eventually, after the first 2 episodes, like the sheen kind of wears off. Then you realize that you're stuck.
There's 3 main threads. Okay, so the Empire stuff, great.
Yep.
I liked it a lot. It was interesting. It had like momentum and twists and stuff like that. Oh yeah. I didn't know it was gonna happen.
I didn't know it was gonna happen.
That was good. That was like the best stuff.
Yes.
The stuff with
Gale, Harry, and Gale.
I liked it. It was interesting, but it kind of like lost steam.
Like maybe not lose steam. I think it was interesting and I liked it. It some silly things happened that I didn't like, but overall it was fine.
Overall it was fine. I liked it, but I felt like it kind of sputtered a little bit. Towards the middle and the end, it was kind of like doing the same thing or not really going anywhere.
I guess we can just talk about that now. So Gale Harding, I like her character. I think it's an interesting character. Gale. You grow up on that.
Dornick? Oh, yeah.
You grow up on that world and you go see Hari. But, if you've seen the entire season, you know that they kind of fill in some of her backstory later. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, honestly, they probably wanted to start the show off with a bang and not have it be like a slow build-up or something. But I feel like her story kind of splitting it up the way that they did.
It felt like it was too thin.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to, spread out over 10 episodes.
Right. Well, in the beginning, they, show her, and I kind of know her character, but, the background, her, background on Synax only kind of alluded to. They show it later, but I feel like if they had shown it before, I would have cared for her more as a character.
Right.
And that might have maybe driven things a little bit better.
So, with her, I remember you watched the first episode, or whatever, and you said it felt very disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
It was cutting too much, or
so that's what I meant by smoothed over. The special effects smoothed over all the quick cuts and sort of the awkward editing.
It was jumping between those things a lot. You didn't know how they connected, and it didn't have a singular focus.
Correct.
And I think it would have been. We talked about this. I think it would have been better if they had just focused on her, Gale, show her where she lives. Yeah. It's a waterlogged whatever.
And they do all that, but they just do it in such a weird interspersed way.
If they just started with her and just held it there.
I would have loved it.
Did the whole thing, and then she went to Trantor.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't show any of that stuff with Salvor Hardin or any of that stuff.
Right.
It would have been better. You would have been this is your main character, this is your view into
That's right. I forgot that the show started with the
Nullfield or something.
Yeah, I forgot. That's what. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm angry now. All right. That's right. Yeah, that's
okay.
Right.
But yeah, I think if they just kept it with her, started with her, you'd see what she's about, her background. You go with her to Trantor, she meets Harry Seldon, it goes through this whole thing. Instead of cutting into the future, but you don't know it's the future.
Right.
And this it doesn't really go anywhere for a while.
The special effects, like I said, are great. And not only on Trantor, but Synax as well. And I think that's interesting enough to keep
a cool place.
People's attention. So yeah, I would have appreciated. I think just to start off with Gale
moving the prayer beads or whatever. That's cool.
That's what I mean. All that stuff was great. I wish they'd shown that earlier.
Yeah,
just show it all together.
Because when she, I guess you want to talk about that?
Talk about Gale. Yeah.
So I feel once she got put in the pod,
yes,
and we didn't hear from her for 2 episodes.
Yes,
it was kind of it kind of sucks. It was a big cliffhanger, and they kind of didn't address it for 2 episodes or something.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of sucked. But then she was on that ship with a magic Harry Seldon because they had nanobots and a knife or something, and
they never explained that.
All that stuff was kind of annoying. All that stuff kind of felt like where is this going? I wanted it to.
And it took a long time.
Something.
The ship was super cool.
Ship was cool.
Yeah.
But what did all that accomplish? Because she just gets on it, yells at him for a while, and then she leaves.
Right. So there was 2 sequences that I guess they wanted to show, maybe 3.
Yeah.
They show the math sequence with her figuring the thing out, where she's headed, which I liked. I know a lot of people didn't. I thought it was fine.
Right. Yeah.
And then number 2, they showed that she could kind of predict the future. The way that was done was way too on the nose. Yeah, she deflected a stray shrapnel bullet.
Yeah, it wasn't she's not supposed to know the 5 minutes ahead exact future, right? It's more she has visions or something.
But now she has spider sense basically. Yeah. And like the music build up to that was just way too much for me.
Yeah. In a similar vein, so I wanted to ask, like, what do you think about the mystic elements or like psychic elements? Because there's like this like why is it called Harry Seldon and Salvor Hardin? Why is that a thing?
I mean, the same reason that there's Duncan Idaho and Gurney Halleck. That's why.
Is it like an anagram? Do you only have, you know what I mean? Like, that's confusing to me. Or
I don't know.
Whatever. So, but she has like the genetic memory of her parent. Not even memory. Genetic like
gifts.
Psychospatial connection with her parents.
Right. So, psychohistory.
Like, what is that?
So, Isaac Asimov was a smart dude.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if you knew that.
I don't know much. I think it was like whatever.
I think it was like a PhD in chemistry.
That was computer science. Whatever.
Dog, he wrote this in
I thought about that just now. All right. I thought he admitted ENIAC. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think he invented the term robot.
Did he?
I think so. I think that was him.
The root word for robot, the word Russian again, or it's a Slavic root, but that root word rob is slave actually.
Mm.
So
slave pot?
Yeah, like yeah.
Okay.
I think it comes from the original. I looked this up before. The original definition or whatever term comes from like a Czech word, but the Slavic root is like the root word for slave.
Interesting.
Like ROB/RAB literally means like slave in Russian.
When we talk about Demerzel, I suppose that should be important.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so he's a smart guy, and so when he came up with this concept for psychohistory,
that's right.
The way that I always so when I thought about psychohistory and the way that it was kind of explained in the books was you're just so good at math that it just like it's just a natural conclusion that you come to that these things will happen. You put two billiard balls and you kind of know their trajectory. You know what the end result will be without actually seeing it. And if you get granular enough and if you do enough math, then, you can predict, huge civilization, whatever things. There's AI nowadays that does something kind of like that. I don't know. But, it was analytical, it was science, it was math. Mm-hmm. That's how I always interpreted it. And I figured that, at least in the show, the way that it was sort of said with Gail's backstory and everything was that she had a natural aptitude for mathematics. She studied, it seems like one scroll or something, and that taught her everything. But fine, I'll suspend my disbelief. And, that taught her math, and she can kind of intuit, because she knew a base level of math, sort of the next steps. And they even said, hey, I couldn't figure out, your psychohistory cube thing. But, I got the gist of it, and I think this is what would have happened. That, to me, made sense. Not perfect sense, good enough. The fact that then Salvor Hardin's, Salvor Hardin? Yeah. Salvor Hardin's,
James Harden.
Yeah, James Harden. Holden. Salvor Hardin's adoptive, I suppose, mother in a scene expected her to just use this, I don't even know what it's called, dodecahedron, whatever. Tesseract, and just be able to magically just know everything that was happening. I don't even know if she ever studied math. She probably did. It was confusing to me. It was confusing.
Can you explain that scene again? What is he
in that scene? Exactly? I think the Koreans were about to attack, and then
at the end where she goes to the null field and
before that, there's a scene where her mother just gives her the tesseract and says, "Hey, can you do something with this?" Just kind of expecting.
But she can't.
No, she can't. She can't at that point. But the fact that her mother, who was a very learned woman, the way that
she's hey, park ranger, can you solve this differential equation right
out of nowhere? And the way that that's how psychohistory sort of treated was depressing. Again, I wanted this to be a show focused on macro events. Sure. It sort of kind of is, sure, but doing something like this where it's mystical is not fun.
Is that in the books at all?
Psychohistory is math. Math is math.
But it's not this psychic connection where I feel my mom is on this planet.
Maybe that is, but it's not I feel that 3 times 5 is 15. It's not like that.
Yeah. But is that stuff in there?
Sure. So you have the second foundation, which sort of steers humanity. But in any case, Gail's storyline, it was okay. It kind of fell apart for me at the end because her character is a very smart, stubborn person. And for her to she got into an argument with Harry while she was on that super cool ship about, if you don't tell me where I'm going, I'm just going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And she must have known that like 100 years are going to pass. She's not going to see her family.
She did know 100 years are going to pass.
Yeah, she's not going to see her family or anyone again. There might not even be anyone there.
Well,
instead of letting 100 years pass, why not take an extra hour? Let's say even a day. Take a day to think about your decision and maybe stay on the ship.
Well,
that is the most impulsive, stupid, out of character thing that I just...
Yeah.
It created plot. She created plot.
Well, it's like she got sent off on an escape pod.
Sure.
After
like 30-something years pass.
Yeah, and then she wakes up, and then she's like, and then
I want answers now, and if I don't
get
get
escape
them...
pod again, and it's kind of like, it doesn't really go anywhere. I was kind of disappointed. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was the ultimate arc of the season for the character.
The only reason that they showed that was to have her and Hari talk about, hey, you have psychic-ish powers.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that really existed, and to show the existence of the Second Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if I think what would have been better is you show Gale's story in the beginning. You show, hey, this is a scientific-minded person, whatever. This is what her planet is like. It's a good contrast to Trantor.
Mm.
She does her thing. She gets sent off by Raish. And you know what? If the Second Foundation storyline was more interesting and that was captivating enough on its own, just don't even show Gale. Like, maybe allude to it at the end of this season. And then start off season 2 with, hey, there's a Second Foundation.
Mm.
There's no reason that they had to put all of these things together and just show them all at once. It doesn't really make sense. And it's confusing anyways. Like, why does the Second Foundation exist? What does it do? It creates a lot of questions, but it doesn't answer them satisfactorily.
Also, like, I feel like Harry Seldon, that's his name, right? Not Salvor Hardin. Harry Seldon, the old guy. He's just like, I'm not going to tell you. Like, it seems like it's like, you're going to throw it, he needs her to go there, right? Yeah. You're going to, like, ruin your whole plan by not even, like, just saying something.
Just like, the stubbornness. Like, the only reason they did what they did was for the plot. It wasn't even, like, it didn't make sense.
Like a sitcom level
misunderstanding,
right?
Yeah.
It's like they just if they said, like, one sentence, the problem would kind of be resolved.
Yeah, like that knife thing never got like figured out. And again, so for a show that I went into with the expectation that this is going to be different from most other sci-fi shows, like it's going to be bigger, more macro focused, for me to see like these small sitcom-esque problems is very frustrating.
I mean, he could just be like, "Hey, Gale, I set up this other thing to guide it secretly because we need 2 guiding things for my thing to work."
Yeah,
so you'd be like, "Okay."
If you can wait, let's say a month, I'll let you know the rest of the plan. Yeah.
Or why not just let her know now because she's not going anywhere?
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying you could have done a month and it would have been fine. So
I know.
100 years passing.
It's like, no, I have to go back to my home to see no one because it's 100 years later. Right. I know that.
And so if they wanted to, I mean, if they wanted to have Gale, the character, be in the next season, even though it's 100 whatever years in the future, I mean, that's what they ultimately accomplished.
Yeah.
Is they got Gale and they got Salvor together, and they got them together with the same actresses in 120 years. I think they had that in mind, and then they wrote what they did to get there.
Do you want to? We'll talk about the ending later because I have a lot of things to say about the ending.
Sure. And so that was Gale's story. I thought she was interesting. She came from an interesting background.
I like the character. I like what they did at the beginning. I just felt like the ending was not.
It felt a little contrived, and it seemed out of character, and it was disappointing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's one thread.
Right.
Do you want to talk about the Empire? Or the other one.
Let's end on a high note. So let's talk about Terminus.
I feel like if we talk about Terminus, I feel like it's going to get to the ending, which I find particularly dumb. So maybe we should talk about the Empire.
Well, Empire also has its own ending.
I know.
Fine. Let's talk about Lee Pace. That's
okay.
Let's do that.
Well, it's hard to know where to start. So, I mean, overall, I like all that stuff. Basically.
Obviously.
I mean, like, it was all great. Like, they had this tension between an older version and a younger version of yourself.
Yeah.
The whole stuff about, like, is it stagnating or is it a stabilizing influence? Is it a good thing? It's a bad thing? Does he have a soul because he's like a clone?
Amazing.
He's going to leave and go on this, like, religious journey, but, like, he's faking it. That's all good. That's all good stuff.
All great. They could have just made a show called Empire.
Oh, you know what else?
And it had a four episode miniseries.
You know what else was good? Remember this? You remember that?
Yes, I remember that. The most chilling scene I've ever seen in my life. Yes.
Just this.
Yeah, so Lee Pace is like 6'5", and he's just made for this. Yeah, he's like made for this role.
Oh wow,
it was nuts. I mean, like you see him in the first episode, and it's just great.
He just exudes that
emperorness,
arrogance,
yes,
but like warranted arrogance.
Yeah, it's warranted. I mean, yelled at a man to death.
Oh, right.
So he was great.
Yeah,
he's great. Like he had to be that because he had to carry the show.
I thought was great.
Sure, yeah, Dusk was great.
So why don't we just go through, like, you want to go through chronologically? Because we kind of did with a little bit.
Right. So, I mean,
like, it starts with, like, the Anacreon Thespis thing.
Right.
Do you want to talk about that? The sky bridge, the space elevator?
Oh, yeah. So one of the first times that I was like, that's weird. They did, I guess, allude to Gale having those powers in the beginning because they were walking and she looked up at the sky bridge. And there were a couple of quick cuts. And Harry's like, what's going on? And then they cut to the, I guess, bombing that happened.
Did they ever explain that, by the way?
Not really.
I don't know if that was like, I don't know if that's going to be like they're never going to talk about that, or that's like a secret.
Right. And so,
because they both did it, but like they both claim, it seems like they both
did. They both do it?
Yeah, it was two people. Remember, one was from Anacreon, one was from Thespis.
So I wasn't sure if it was done like the way that those characters in the story did what they did in order to implicate Anacreon Thespis, or because
I don't know if they were set up.
We were supposed to see that and see that as the truth.
That they did. See, I don't know.
So I don't know.
But I feel like if those planets actually planned that, one, it would be super weird to do it when both of their delegations were there, and for both of them to do it when they don't like each other. Right.
And so I guess what could happen is there is allusions to
it could
bigger,
even be like someone playing, like it could even be like Harry Seldon.
Right. So I think that there's like some allusions to something like that happening.
Yeah. I thought all the stuff with like retiring Dusk, that was awesome.
Awesome.
New Dawn,
retiring
awesome.
Dust.
Yeah. Dude, that was awesome. Going to see like the Rent, or what is that what it's called? Where the Skybridge fell, and like it's now like a ghetto on Trantor. That stuff was cool.
Yes.
It was cool to think that that would happen, and then they show it. You know what I mean?
Yes. So, man, there's so much.
The way Trantor looks is awesome. Like all that stuff is great.
Trantor looked awesome. The Skybridge was awesome. The way that it like fell was crazy.
And even
animated.
that, like, they're the same character, but that the day that we're seeing mostly was the Dawn, who had to see like those people get hanged, right?
Right.
That like kind of influenced him. He thought,
and that's what I mean. Like that kid had like 2 scenes that I remember, but they mattered, and I remember those scenes.
And it informs the character, even though it's the same person.
Right.
It's not, right?
Right. Nuanced acting.
Yeah. So that's all cool. I want to talk briefly. It seems weird that like a little like watch bomb can blow up the entire like space elevator, right?
I don't know. Nukes exist. That's like 10,000 years in the future.
Well, I mean, you even saw it. It didn't look like it was. I mean, it was big, but like, the whole space elevator just falls because
it's gravity.
2 bombs go off.
Yeah.
I don't know what would really happen.
I don't know what the exact.
It's fine. It was fine.
Balance.
Also, that whole scene, holy shit, right? Like.
Yeah, that was amazing. I saw that and I was like, this show is amazing. It's amazing. And I told everybody to watch it.
Like the whole thing falling, like then there's people like going through the atmosphere and like all that stuff is like,
yeah. It made you care about that one woman just falling.
Oof.
Yeah, and just the way that it wrecked just layer after layer of the surface. I mean, that was
part of the surface. It's under. It's like Midgar, right? It's like got a city on top of it, right?
The entire thing is just a city.
So the whole thing is like symbolic. It's like now you can see the sky, the imperfection.
And they also alluded to that later on, where she said, "And we could see the sky for the first time." It's very beautiful.
Why does it feel like that? Why does it feel like this Empire storyline is written by a completely different team or person than the other one?
You know, we probably should have done our research here, and we didn't. But
I don't think you're going to be able to find that. I know you said that they were directed, or
I think they were directed separately.
They were directed separately, but it's not like the cinematography is what is the
problem. No, the writing is the difference. Yeah.
Do you think they were written by different teams, or do you think just the material that they had to work with was, you know what I mean?
Maybe the freedom that they had was more on Trantor.
Because I feel like the Empire stuff, there's a lot more going on just intrinsically, right? Like there's a lot more.
There's a lot more you can do, yeah.
Like, to have in there. I don't know, but it feels like it's like a different movie.
Yes, that is how it feels.
You know?
Yeah. So anyways, let's continue on.
Right.
So we can talk about each empire separately, basically. So we have this little kid. He sees the hanging. He asks, "Does it always end like this?"
Yeah.
Usually. And then he becomes Day for most of the series. Well, for after this, he is Day. And then his arc is interesting because he goes to...
Oh, the planet?
What is it called?
Oh, I don't know.
With Zephyr Halima.
Proxima, right? Is it Proxima? Oh, the Maiden.
So then Lee Pace goes to Maiden. Maybe he
Right.
shouldn't have, in order to solve problems himself.
Right, it's like a religious uprising or something.
Well, I think, again, so this is something that's cool that I liked. This is a religion with, was it trillions of followers, I believe?
Something, yeah.
Something ridiculous
Yeah.
to show the scale of this whole thing. And so he goes there, and then in order to deftly outplay his, opponent, Zephyr Halima, he goes on this, walk, which is actually a pretty crazy length.
I forget how far, like 130
It was something
kilometers or something.
Ridiculous. And again, it's so interesting because he has the nanobots removed. He's never really done something like this, and you have so many questions about what the character is feeling, and he acts so well. Anyway,
I think it's cool because it shows his strength of will or resolve. He's not
arrogance,
just
but also willingness to do it.
He's
Self-belief.
He's gonna do it, and he knows he's gonna succeed. Right? It's
Yeah.
I'll take your stupid walk. I'll
Yeah.
take my nanobots out. I don't care.
Yeah.
And he does. Right?
It was great.
Yeah. So that whole conflict between him and the Zephyr Halima.
Yeah.
What's her name?
What was her name?
Okay. Well, that whole conflict was good. You had tension, and it was you didn't know who was gonna get the upper hand.
Right.
Exactly.
I expected him to die.
I thought he might, or I thought that that might lead to an uprising or something.
Right.
And I didn't know he was gonna have her killed, and the whole thing with Dimmerzel,
Right. So he goes to the cave, and that was a cool scene. And then he comes back, and it's done in such an arrogant way where he says, "This is what I saw." And it's the analogy that he gave was so perfect and on the nose, fine.
Yeah.
But it was just so
Right? It's perfectly calculated.
very, yeah, that's the word. It's calculated, and
Right.
it got exactly the reaction he wanted.
It's I'm gonna fake religious salvation or
but in a way that will directly benefit me as much as possible.
Machiavellian.
There was, what was it, 3 flowers or 1 flower, 3
yeah.
petals? Amazing, just amazing.
That whole thing was great.
That was great. And then to really bring it all home, then we have Demerzel. We learn more about her, and he sent her to kill his opponent. Well, it wasn't enough to just win. He had to completely,
destroy.
destroy
He has
his
to
opponent.
salt the earth.
Right. And that said a lot about him, and I thought that was very interesting.
And then everything with Demerzel too, for some, I don't know why she's a religious robot, but whatever.
Yeah.
The whole thing with her, the whole time, it's important to her, but she's also completely loyal to the Empire.
I don't really know when she's from and what exactly her motivations are. By reading Asimov's books, you kind of have a sense of what she's sort of bound by. There's the 3 laws of robotics, which say you can't take a human life unless some things happen. So her conflicts, they're not really explored yet. I'm sure they will be in season 2. But her character, I think, was interesting, even though you don't really understand. You understand she is conflicted.
What I gathered was that she's there was some sort of robot war, and she's the only robot left, and then she was the
Maybe android. But...
android servant to the original Cleon, right? And so she's just put in place probably by him to kind of maintain the genetic dynasty.
Right, but I don't know the exact wording of what her directive is.
I don't know either.
So that'll be interesting to see. And her makeup, the actress, very good, obviously. And then the androidness, also very good.
Yeah.
Looked nice.
I guess that's what I mean. There's a lot going on there. In that one episode, right? You have him, he's trying to quash this religious uprising, prove himself. Yeah. He's lying.
He's kind of just a step or making fun of or belittling Demerzel's religious convictions.
Right, and they're very close because she raised him basically.
Yeah.
But she has this conflicting thing between like she's loyal to him, but also to this religion, and she has to kill like this
religious figure that she
like,
respects.
Right. So you have a lot going on there.
Very good.
Compare that to like,
yes,
Terminus, and it's like,
And then just to drive this point home, and that's what I mean by like big things. You can't have a story like that where you say, like, the emotions we understand. She is conflicted because she has, differing motivations. We get that. But her motivations are so
large,
out there and large, and that's the sort of stuff that I like to see. Not,
right.
I like red and he liked blue, but he told Stacy he liked green. I don't, right? Unless that means Stacy's going to destroy a galaxy.
Or it's like, these are like things about like religion, government, stability, rebellion. Those larger concepts and themes are being communicated through like the interactions of characters.
Right.
Like in that small, like she kills that person, right?
Right.
That could be like on Terminus, it's like, I want to get this box. Bang. But like, and there's something bigger going on. This has like all these huge lofty things communicated through those
a lot of implications for the Empire and then for her character. That's
great.
Why
it's so much better.
Yes. That is what happens.
Anyway, and then so did you like the stuff with like the New Dawn?
Well, so just to end that off, the one thing that I didn't like about Cleon's story in that episode is that I think it was very well understood that he didn't have a vision.
Yeah.
But they drove that home pretty hard.
I understand. It's a very minor thing, right?
It's a very minor thing. They didn't have to have him crying when he was in the cave. Yeah, in the cave. Like, they could have just shown him in the cave with his back turned and you see nothing.
I think that would have been better.
That would have been better. Instead of then, like, showing him... Well, you already saw the tears when he was, like, going through space. Yeah. You don't need to also see them again.
More subtlety would have been better.
That's my small complaint.
That's true.
But it's still great.
Right.
Still great.
Those are the kind of complaints I wish I had about.
I wish complaints could be so minor.
Okay.
And so, let's talk about Dawn.
The New Dawn. I didn't see it going there. Did you?
No, dude. Though every single scene after like maybe the first time he met Azura, every single time that they met was so tense. Yeah. Like every single one. Like when he was on that balcony and he took off his little protecting thing. Every single scene, I was just like,
I'm like, is he gonna have her killed?
Is he gonna get killed? Is someone gonna kill her? And then
and he's like trying to cover up his differences. The stuff with the wall.
Oh my god, that was amazing. That was so amazing.
What do you see?
3 birdies.
Right. Such a cool, because like the mural is like set up through the whole thing.
Yeah.
His colorblindness, like.
And he explains why it matters, and you understand the stakes. So when that reveal happens, you understand the devastation that he feels.
Like he just sees it, and you're like, oh no, like you get it immediately.
Yeah, that's set up and payoff. That's good. That was a good thing.
Stuff. Yeah,
that's a good thing.
The whole mural is kind of like running through the.
Erase the whole thing.
Yeah.
Spends the time painting it, and it's funny. They show it to the Anacreon on the Thespins. I was like, oh yeah, cool. I really care about this mural.
Yeah. So
a lot of tension. The actor, like the way he looks, just looks like you feel bad for him. Kind of.
He looks a little meek.
That's a good word.
Right.
Yeah. How does he become Day? You wonder.
Yeah, but he won't. Kind of. So
So
what do you think about like how they? What do you think about their plan to infiltrate everything?
That was amazing. I mean, that was so unexpected.
It was unexpected.
One of my that's Don. You understand sort of the weight that he carries, and it gives you insight into the Empire genetic line. All very good, and you understand that they don't have as much agency as you would think from the outside looking in. They are not Cleon; they are in a line of Cleons, and so what they can and can't do is sort of predetermined. His differences, I think, were interesting. He as a character was interesting. You understand his motivations very easily. And then with him and Azura, tension just inherent. What I will say is I expected him to get caught and killed, probably.
Yeah.
At the end. I did not expect that there was going to be a plot to sort of infiltrate. Before we get into that, there was a scene during that was one of my favorite scenes in the show, was when he escaped from the palace and then he's hearing Azura's voice say like what it is like where she lives and how it is now after the Skybridge fell. I thought that was very cool because it allowed you to see Trantor from a point of view of just a commoner. I thought that was very well written, which when I saw that, I thought, well, if this is happening now and I'm feeling good, that means something bad's about to happen.
Yeah.
Which it did. And then I expected the infiltration to be successful. And it wasn't.
Right.
And then Dusk comes in to save the day, and then you as a viewer have like these conflicted feelings because it's like, whoa, that.
And then like when he gets killed by Demerzel, I didn't see that coming either.
No, none of it. I saw none of it coming.
It's so good because like Day comes back, right?
Yeah.
And he like kind of did this thing to Demerzel where he forced her to kill this person and like that conflict, and then she kind of like gets her almost revenge or something, like payback by killing.
Yeah, so I think Demerzel probably would have killed Dawn anyways. Again, I don't know what her exact commands are, but I feel like she would have.
Right, but it's kind of like that interplay between those two characters.
Correct.
Demerzel and Day.
Correct. And so what you expect is maybe Day will come and he'll say to kill him, or then you're surprised that he is having a change of heart, and you think, wow, the Empire, like they say, was stagnating. Maybe this is going to change something. And then, out of nowhere.
Emotional roller coaster.
Yes, it was an emotional roller coaster. There's a phrase, and I don't know who said it, but you want things to be unexpected but inevitable. Right, I didn't make that phrase, but somewhere, right? When it happens, it's unexpected, but then you think about it and you think, well,
when you look back, it like makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense, and that's
but you didn't see it coming.
Right, and that's good writing. That's how things should be, and that's what it was. And that's episode. That was a lot of last episode.
10, yeah.
Okay, and that left.
It must be, yeah.
And that left me on a made me very happy to see that. It was a high note to end on for the Empire storyline.
Right. Okay.
And so
now
hold on.
Get into Trantor.
Compose myself.
Terminus, right? Terminus. Okay, so Terminus. What I'll say in general is like the whole thing in Terminus felt like a bad, like a sci-fi movie. You know what I mean? Like it was like everything.
Those bad sci-fi movies where the set is just cardboard boxes.
No.
Right.
Like a new Star Trek movie.
Sure.
Where like the special effects are good and everything, but the whole plot is just like we need to get to the giant ship to blow up the thing.
I mean, okay, so I guess what I hate more than anything is just when things just don't make sense. I mean, that's a pretty broad phrase, but like let's look at it this way. The Foundation, it was set up because they were going to set up there, they were going to start kind of conserving history. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way that it just starts, one, I actually don't like the way that it looks. Because it looks, Terminus looks like, let's bring in The Expanse maybe for a second. The season, was it 4 or 5 of The Expanse, where it just took place on that one little planet?
Yeah.
That was like a setup that they had, I don't know, just like a few months in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just a bunch of boxes, containers that they lived in, whatever. Mm-hmm. So we see Terminus, and it's just like a desert planet. It doesn't really evoke anything. I mean, Synapse was simple, but it was amazing.
You know
I feel like they could have made it look better or more of a world. For me, it just felt like boxes and just generic whatever.
It's just supposed to be a wasteland.
I understand.
And it is.
I understand that, but it could have... I didn't like how it visually looked, and then that translated to the scenes that they had there were just bland and boring.
I did not have... and maybe it could have been better. I didn't think the setting was...
It wasn't the biggest problem,
the setting
but I want to bring up that wasn't good either. Yes.
You know what I think would have helped? We don't see them doing anything. Like, what are they doing?
That's true.
Like, the Foundation is there, and their job is to do something.
I see one classroom where they debated how to measure time. I remember kids running around doing nothing, which they should be, like, super studying, right?
Like, what they do. Yeah, like, aren't they supposed to be making a repository of all human knowledge or something?
I would be happy if, like, they showed, like, a farm, maybe. Like, some of them are farming. There's, like, a hydroponics garden. Mm-hmm. Some of them, this is how their, like, water, whatever system is set up. Like, a small city. Like, maybe a small town, an advanced town.
Yeah.
That would have been cool to see.
But they're working on something. Because it's right. What are they doing? They're not doing anything.
Right. There's, like, no rush or anything.
It's just being, like, dirt farmers.
Right. And so it just... I didn't see what they were doing. They were saying,
and like the people that live there, they don't seem to be very scientifically. Most of them seem to be very scientifically minded, right? It's not like a collection of scientists. They don't get that.
It was supposed to be, wasn't it?
Right. But you don't get that feeling. At least I don't.
I don't either. And again, it's how it looks and how they talk. And
it's like they took scientists, engineers, the smartest people, and then like, I don't know, they farm potatoes and like.
They don't even show the farming. I'd be happy if they farm potatoes.
Also, they could have talked about like all this stuff on the way there, right? Like what if they're gonna use base 10 numerals or whatever, they could talk, right? Like,
dude, they could have done so much.
So I think that's part of the problem. Is like, what are they doing? What is her job?
The location itself is kind of boring. Her job is to be an action hero. That basically is her job description.
But what if she did up to this point? Like shoot at foxes? Like there's nothing there. There's
even
a null field which kills everything. So what is she even doing?
She just makes her rounds.
And to do what?
Her character acts as someone who has seen battle at some point and is now kind of, taken a few years off, but understands, what things are like. Like she acts like a battle-hardened kind of soldier. She has never seen another. Has she ever even shot her gun before like this crisis happened?
If she shot it, what would she have shot it at?
That's what I mean.
And the other thing too is that like it's got this kind of a thing where she's like, I told you guys we should have been preparing for battle or something. And like, really? Like, why? And why also, like, how did she get that job? Why is she the only one that seemingly does it?
Well, I mean, they sort of explained, like, you seem to be good for this job. But I think there were some words said.
What is the job? To patrol the fence?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
So that whole thing is, like, kind of like,
Yes.
And again, I don't know what they're doing. I know in general they're doing Foundation stuff, but, like, I don't know what they're doing.
I think what would have been interesting for me as a viewer to see is if the setting was, maybe we play Age of Empires, there's a new one out, but maybe, they have their little town center. They show you like, hey, this is where we get our food. But then the people who are getting the food, it's not just, farmers doing whatever. It's, scientists debating about the most advanced farming techniques. And, well, this civilization used to do this. Well, we did this, Mm-hmm. And maybe you do that with all these little facets of technology. Maybe they have an aqueduct, the coolest things ever.
Yeah.
Little things like that would have brought a lot more life to that sort of town. And then Salvor Harding could have been, maybe just her father could have been, the person who kind of patrols, makes sure that the planet is okay. And she kind of emulates what he does, and he has the experience to be this battle-hardened warrior. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of putting up that.
Maybe he was like the ship security officer.
Right.
He was a soldier back on whatever.
And she sort of emulates that, so she looks like it, but she doesn't actually have that inside. And so when these things happen, then she becomes that. Something like some kind of arc.
But the thing is, so like goons, space goons land on the planet with a very kind of shaky and nebulous plan, right? It's like this magic ship jumps around. It happens to be here. We need to go to this dirt ball to find a navigator to operate the ship, but we also need to draw an Empire guy there to use his face to open the door of a 700-year-old ship. 700 years old.
Nanobots don't change, dog. Empire stagnating.
Also, it's like, it's blipping around. Do you know anything about the ship? No. But this is the very specific, weird set of things we need to make it work. And then, what are they going to do with the ship? I don't understand.
They're going to, ram it into Trentor.
Was that the thing?
Yeah, it was
But a freaking elevator already fell on the planet, and it's fine. Like, is the ship going to do anything?
I think there was... I don't know. I guess what I would have done is just, warp into the center of the planet or something.
Sure, but, was that the easiest way to do that? The magic time jumping...
Okay. I have so many problems with this. One, they allude to Hari says that he knew that the ship would probably be there.
He does?
He says something like that.
Okay. That's so specific.
That is very specific.
Also, it's not very useful to their plan. Maybe it will be in the later
I think it will be. That's one. And then, overall, what that ship does is it functions as a distraction, or it functions as a decoy to make it look like Terminus is already gone.
Do you want to talk about that?
No, we'll talk about that later, whatever.
Holy moly.
But yeah, their plan is, hey, look, there's a ship. Do we know anything about that? No. Really? Okay, well, we need one of each of these people to go to that ship and do, whatever we want to do. Are you sure it's enough people? It looks like a pretty big ship. They probably had hundreds of people.
They had 8 people.
Yeah, they probably had hundreds of people who needed to, to work that ship. No. This is okay. There's this outpost. There are some smart people there. We'll go and pick some people up there. They go to that outpost, set up this stupid cannon.
Oh, man.
That then they use to blow up one of the Empire's ships Like, okay, did this ship goes from one side of like the galaxy or whatever to another. Did it really need to land on the planet? Don't they have like rowboats that they can like send out to the planet? That's one thing. And two, if it's advanced enough to where this thing that is made to fly in like zero, like a vacuum, can go through the atmosphere with no problem, go back up. It's that advanced, whatever. It can't take one hit of one hit.
I mean, it was pretty big. Did you see that?
No, it wasn't that big.
I know.
It was okay. Big. One hit. They don't have any sensors. They can't scan the area. This like outer reach planet has this one cannon that's enough to in one shot take this whole thing out.
Yeah.
They're not gonna randomly kill that. Like that captain, they needed him alive.
Yeah, they needed him alive.
He's not gonna die when you do this. It was so stupid. And then she knows that this exists. Why did you even have her learn of the existence of this cannon if she's not going to do anything with that information, Salvor Hardin? Why?
Yeah.
There's so many things that happen that are so nonsensical that it just completely takes you out and makes you enraged watching TV.
The part that makes it even worse is that the way they portray it is like the Huntress is like a super calculating, like she planned it all to the T. These things that can't possibly be planned or relied on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what if the Imperial ship didn't show up for 20 years? Because they say, like, no one ever talks to us or cares about this place or ever checks up on us. But she's like, we'll invade this dirtball. They'll call for help. We'll let the help call get out. A ship will come very soon.
Yeah.
It'll be ambushed by our kind of large shotgun that we have. We'll shoot down the ship. The captain will be alive. He'll help us. His face won't be ruined by our shotgun. There will be a navigator that can fly the ship. It's 700 years old. It's 700 years old. Did I mention that? It's 700 years old. The other thing, so I don't know even when you want to talk about this, but like this ship, it's 700 years old. What does it do that's so great?
It's just a big ship.
It's just a big ship?
It's a huge
I mean,
ship.
surely the Empire has 1 gajillion even bigger ships by now, right?
Yeah, I think that.
I mean,
the Empire's stagnating.
would it not make... Why did it have to be so old? Like, what if it's like 30 years old? That way it's still like an advanced ship.
I think it adds to the mystery, saying it's just been jumping around. It's like a pirate. It's like a pirate ship, basically.
Yes,
like
it's like
Blackbeard,
the
the Flying Dutchman. That's what it was.
Did they even say that, or did I make that up?
You think you probably made that up, but that's what I mean. Like
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like a ghost ship. It's like it doesn't belong in Foundation. A ghost ship.
Right, and for it to for anybody to know that that's where it was going to be, that defies also some reason.
And like they probably would get shot down immediately when it jumps to Trantor, right?
Well, okay, if they could do it right, I believe it could be fine. That's all good. But
can any ship just jump into any planet and blow it up? Like it seems odd.
I mean, if the Skybridge fell and it didn't have like a force field around the planet, then
okay,
I expected something like that actually.
Anyway, that whole thing was just like a mustache twirling villain kind of. Not that bad.
Well, the problem is they even gave you background. Like, am I supposed to feel sympathetic for this character?
Yeah,
because I kind of did. But then I was like, what is her arc? It's just when bad things happen to people, they go and do bad things and then they die. That's what happened to her.
She had no next move, only a last move. There you go. There you go. See, they thought of it.
That's smart.
But the thing is, it goes on for so long. It's the entire 10 episodes.
Right.
It's like little back and forth and like, oh, my eye's actually a bomb or something. Like,
I mean, other than just the logical problems that I have with it, the actual action, the way that it was shot, the smaller interactions between characters, I just didn't care for.
No, because they had all that stuff going on with like Gale and kind of Raish and Harry and all the Empire stuff. Those characters. But then on Terminus, you have Salvor Hardin, who I don't like. And that's kind of it. Like, you have like her mom, kind of, her dad, kind of, the Huntress, but the Huntress is just kind of like she's mad all the time.
Yeah. There's no arc there.
Yeah. And her second in command.
He has a kid and he kind of changes his mind.
But
he has a mini arc. He's a mad dude.
And her boyfriend with like the blue contacts. Holy moly! Like,
yeah, Mr. Super one-dimensional.
Yeah,
he's like a Jon Snow. Like I don't want it. Just like
my queen.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That
like, I think part of it was like the whole thing was like the mystery. Like, where is this going?
Right.
And I was kind of like, where the hell is this going? Like,
I think
I didn't want to.
If it was set up better, done everything faster, and just made it make sense.
It might have made just made it make
and then
make
compress
sense.
it to like half the time.
Yeah.
Because that's the other problem.
Part of the problem is you have all this lofty stuff with the Empire and Foundation itself is like trafficking in more like bigger concepts, right? But this whole plotline revolves around what is essentially a giant gun in space, right?
Yes.
It's like we need to activate the big revolver and shoot the planet. Like it's just a big gun. Like there's nothing more complicated to it. It's a big gun. And revenge.
There's some small stuff like, oh, the crew tried to mutiny, but they didn't let them.
Oh, dude.
Whatever.
I want to talk about this.
Okay.
Holy shit, dude. Like, when she goes in there... Okay, so they're alluding to she's the only one that can fly this thing? Because she's like a wizard or something, right?
So yeah, they have this ragtag group of 6 highly specialized individuals that they travel who knows how long for.
I forgot that she had magic powers and she can like play poker like a boss. Like she always knows if it's gonna be heads or tails.
Yeah.
Okay, so that somehow lets her fly this magic ship.
Yep.
And they know that, or she knows that, or what? Like, why?
If you can intuit it, fine. I mean, you know what? Fine.
But the moment where I was like, what the hell is happening? Is like they get in there and the navigator is like unplugged from his spinal cord. That's how you fly the ship. You plug this thing into your spine or your brain or something, right? And she's like, okay, we got 45 seconds. I'm going to have to do it myself. Plug me in. And he's even like, what? And she's like, I think she literally says like, it'll figure it out. Like, surely they designed it to where it'll figure it out. And like, it's literally plugged into his body. I'm like, how are you even going to plug it into your spine?
Yeah.
Like, you're just going to...
I mean, I'll give him a lot of benefits.
You're going to give him what now?
10,000 years in the future. Maybe you just kind of get in the vicinity and like little nanobots take care of the rest.
See it clearly. It's just like a pipe with wire. It's not like sophisticated at all. And it's also 700 years old.
And that's still 9,300 years in the future or whatever.
Fine, but this technology doesn't exist anywhere else.
I know.
It's not shown with like, oh, things just plug in.
I know.
And so it's like she's from Terminus, okay? She hasn't even seen like a plasma TV, okay? so she goes there and she's like, oh, this old ship. I know that he's a navigator. It was plugged into his spinal cord, obviously. And also, obviously, if I just throw his corpse out and then shove it into my brain, I'll be able to fly the ship. What? And
then you say it like that.
And then also she's like, we got to do this in 3 minutes because they're knocking on the door. So hurry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That moment I was like, holy crap, dude. What the hell am I seeing?
Kids watching.
And then it gets even better because it does work and the other guy does it.
Yeah.
The counselor Pyrene or something.
I guess the ship figured it out.
So it's like, oh, I guess you don't have to have magic head coin flipping powers to shove a 700-year-old pipe into your brain.
He died.
Fly the ship.
He died of tetanus. It wasn't even the
like stab infection. Dude, like,
yeah,
right? Were you not just yelling at your TV?
I mean, I think I was just pissed like the entire time. Like whenever that came on by that time, I had gotten used to just like doing something else. Honestly,
dude, like, what were they thinking?
I know,
because what happened is someone flew the ship and like got it where it's supposed to be, which is right in front of the planet where it already was, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, why did they come up with this awful, like, contrived thing?
I know.
Why didn't they just make it like a screen where it's like, we have to input the coordinates, but it's like, you need to know, like, compute space-time folding or whatever. No one can do it. And she's, like, good at math for some reason.
Sure.
Yeah, that's how she does it. He plugs the thing into his brain.
Yes.
And then he flies to, somehow this guy that
he just thinks about his home a lot, and then the ship goes.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
Exactly. And then he gets exactly far enough so that he doesn't crash into the planet or some gravity thing doesn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's just like a counselor. He's not like a pilot or anything.
I mean, smart.
He's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy.
If he was smart, he wouldn't have shoved that into his brain.
Yeah.
How do you even shove it in your brain?
willpower?
It's not. It was like wires poking out and stuff. It's not like it.
Yeah. The ship figured it out.
Okay, whatever.
So yeah, then Salvor Hardin goes to the planet, and finally, for her sake and for ours, we can kill the Huntress and have that plot line be over.
Man.
I mean, you'd think that she was going to change or something. There was no redemption. Why even show her as a little girl? Like, what does that do?
Yeah, I guess, what is her point?
Again, bad things happen to...
Because she doesn't fly the ship, ultimately, so she's not needed for that. Does she save... She opens the null field, I guess, and then...
Who does?
Salvor Hardin.
Oh, you mean what's Salvor Hardin's point?
Why does she need... what does she do? What's her...
The character does exist in the books, not like this, but she basically becomes sort of an overpowered and therefore a little bit uninteresting person who really just goes through the motions. She has like this kind of arch enemy, or that's how they try to make it, but I don't know.
She seems very, like you're saying, I guess, very competent, but maybe she shouldn't be at first because she doesn't probably do much on that.
Right, that's what I mean. What life experience does she have to make her this like battle-hardened warrior?
But she knows she gets the Huntress psychologically. She understands her immediately. Mm-hmm. She knows how to appeal to the second in command. She's figuring out. But it would be more appealing or compelling if she was...
Maybe she wasn't as physically good at things.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't know how to fight, maybe. She was an okay shot, but she didn't know how to fight. She didn't have that aggression. She didn't know how to, hurt other people or something. And then by, doing that with the Huntress, she understands, a different point of view.
I felt it was a little bit... The whole thing was, kind of unfocused. Because you're kind of where's it going? The Anachrons show up. She has visions of, a little boy. She has, visions of, the library. It's kind of, all over the place.
And eventually they put it together saying, these are my parents, which I think was sort of obvious. Was it obvious to you?
Well, the whole thing about, not having babies on the ship and storing your genetic material, I didn't really understand what the point of that was. And then also, why did her mom use an embryo that wasn't hers from the bank? She got pregnant after they landed, right? Why did she just have a kid the normal way with her husband? Maybe they couldn't or something, but they never said that.
I don't remember it being said, no.
You know what I mean? Why do they implant...
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I know. But anyways, so it seems like a contrived way for them to have an interesting character with, mystical powers.
Yeah. Okay, so what I want to talk about is... Oh, do you have something?
I just want to say something positive because I feel bad. No one's ever going to see this, but
leave it at the end.
Fine.
Because my overall impression, like I said, is
it's positive.
I will watch it the second season.
Right.
I'm not sad that I watched it. I
okay.
just had major problems.
Go on
with that.
Air your grievances.
Third,
Yeah. All right.
But okay, the null field. Why? Why does it exist? To keep people away from it?
I think so.
Sure, but then why does it get bigger? And why does it get so big in 2 seconds and encompasses the whole planet all of a sudden? Because it's opening and releasing magic null power. But
yes,
what is that?
Dog, I don't know.
It just puts everyone to sleep.
I think it's more of a protection thing.
They should just have a shield that kept people out of it, and then it
Well, that's not interesting. It's like a black box. No one knows what it's about. It does create mystery. I will say that. And these people thought
the end of the mystery was not satisfyingly concluded.
Agreed. But they thought that the people who made the show thought that the mystery was so interesting that they led with it. This was the first scene of the entire series.
Yes, and it was interesting. I'm like, oh, is it an alien thing or what's in there? And it was an old white guy. I'm like,
Had he been Korean, would it have helped?
It would have helped, yes.
It actually would have helped. That would have helped a lot.
Or if he was Harry, but he came out as Korean, that would have been awesome.
I agree with that.
Better, at least.
Yeah, and so it was not satisfying. Sure, it's Harry. That's fine.
Is it?
It's okay. It's
also, he dies and he keeps showing up.
It looks it's almost like a bad magic trick, honestly. It's I'm gonna disappear, and he disappears from the stage, and when another act is on, he comes back. It's me. Just okay.
Yeah, and I like how they're just all mad at him. They're I thought that this whole thing. He's no. Anyway, you're all here.
Yeah, I'm just here to give closure to the audience. What audience? Bye. That's basically what happened, and it was a little jarring. Jared Harris, I think is his name. To be fair, he basically plays the same character in The Expanse.
Yes. He's a good actor.
He's a specific.
I like
actor.
him as Harry Seldon.
Yes,
I
I do
how
too.
they used him.
I wish there was more of him, and I wish it was more, spaced out. I guess.
I wish they didn't have him on the ship as one thing, as another weird AI, and then also in this capsule as another weird AI.
I suppose. I think they just want him as much as possible. I think story-wise, it makes sense for him to be on. The people would like consult him kind of. It makes some sense for him to be on Terminus.
He's supposed to be predetermined, right? That's the whole thing.
Right.
What if they just had him like have a video recording that he recorded when he was alive that perfectly said everything was going to happen because he knew?
Okay,
right?
So I'm going from memory here, and so I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but in the books, that is what happens.
Oh.
That is basically what happens.
It makes more sense.
Right.
It's
Agreed.
more like, oh, wow, he knew everything.
Agreed.
And then like his little robot self goes away. It's like, wait, help us forever. Like,
it was.
Why are you?
It
leaving?
was almost a joke to see that.
Anyway,
it seemed super pointless, and honestly, like the squabbles between the Anacreons, the Thespins, and the Terminians, it seemed very small potatoes. Because
the whole thing was small potatoes. The whole thing was like this little town.
Agreed. So I mean, we're talking about them trying to the Anacreons steal a ship that's 700 years old to crash into a planet to kill billions, 100 billion people, and what we have to show that faction, to show the people who are doing this, what is shown on screen is 100 people. Like I don't know. I guess at one point they were shooting at a bunch of people, but but what is shown in that final scene is like 50, 30, 10, whatever people of each side, and almost comically they come together and say, "Yeah." I don't know.
So like,
out of reach on 3, and
so like his plan is to use them to fight Trantor, right? But that's what they were trying to do anyway.
Basically, but it unites them a little bit, and then each of them has something that they can bring to the table.
And I want your thoughts. Mega flare. Go.
I don't mind.
You don't mind
if it had been set up properly.
If Harry knew 30 seconds before.
If Harry knew about it. If they could have done so much.
But what the hell were they even talking about? It didn't make any sense. If we take this ship and make it go shoot off somewhere, it'll look like our whole planet exploded and no one will care. That's literally what they said.
Yes.
And then they also set this up 10 seconds before it happens. Hey, if a ship, like, does that not happen with other ships? Do planets not constantly look like they're blowing up because ships are taking off?
Well, this is a big ship.
Okay, but there's a lot of big ships.
Well, it's a bigger ship.
And
it's
like,
the biggest ship.
The Thespin guy's like, oh, you're right. It can make it look like a black hole exploded right here by just turning on the car engine.
Right.
His plan to conceal Terminus was there'd be a magic teleporting ship and that they could use it to shoot off behind the planet, thus making it look like it blew up. Thus, that was the easiest way to conceal them from the Empire. Even though they're already concealed because they live on a wasteland no one cares about.
It's like faking your own death for insurance. You've done it.
I know, but like, the thought that...
I know. It's very convoluted and contrived is the word.
It made no sense.
Contrived.
There's no way that that's true. There's no, there's no way that like teleporting the ship makes it look like the system exploded or something. And if that's true, there's also no way that no one would care.
Someone would care. I think that's the thing. Someone would eventually come and
call, and one of their ships got blown up. Like,
well,
no
you might just assume that it got blown up because the distress call was because of the.
So somewhere on Trantor, someone's looking at like a galactic radar map, and they're like, lost another one.
Man, you saw that mathematician. You know they're not that good at these things. Stagnating.
It just seems like laughable. No.
It is.
They could have not even mentioned it. And would you have like been like, what? But the Empire's gonna know. Like you would have been like, yeah, they're a backwater planet, whatever. No one's gonna come check this out.
Yeah. And it would have actually made things more tense when they did come, and then they have to kind of hide the fact that they're all working together.
Because they didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Have that weird one-liner.
I guess specifically if what did they say it was a quasar, or what did they say it was? Whatever anomaly they were going to try to create with the Invictus. That's the name of the ship that we haven't said yet.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, somebody would very specifically say, "What's that anomaly?" and point a camera right there and be like, "Is that the Invictus?" It just says HMS Invictus like on the side. It actually draws attention to that specifically.
Okay. the other problem I have.
Yeah, let's get it all out. It's like a therapy session.
So like Sour Harden at the last episode when she leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a lot there, but like she finds out that she's Gail Dornick's daughter, right? I forget how. Maybe she just has the vision and she realizes.
No, I think her mom tells. Oh yeah, she.
But she goes to talk to her and then she tells her something.
Something.
Whatever. She's like, I have to leave now.
Yeah.
In 30 seconds, I have to leave and go to Water Planet.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. No, there's no time to think about it or talk to anyone. I know this plot stretches over 130 years, but I have to go right now.
Yeah.
For what purpose? To see my genetic mom?
She's calling her.
Uh-huh.
They calling me.
But she's not calling her because she gets there first. But that's so stupid, right? She's like, it's nighttime. Yeah, I gotta go now. I can't even, no breakfast. No, I gotta go now.
Yeah.
I'm taking your ship, dog.
Yeah.
Okay, think about this. So she goes there, right?
Uh-huh.
And her pod is just underwater for God knows how long. 100 years? 30? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But then Gale goes to Synax, and she happens to land within 100 feet of where her pod is. Also, why did she go to Synax? Because she knows that it's going to be underwater, right? That's the whole point. She's like, it's sinking. Don't you realize? And she knows it's 100 years later. She knows it's going to be underwater. So what is she going there for? Because she lands and finds exactly what she expects. And what is her plan? Because she's now stranded on a water planet with nothing. She's going to eat catfish for like the next 30 years and just die there? Like...
Yeah.
And so what if she didn't see that little blinking light? Like, she's like, oh, what?
I know. And I hate things like that so much.
It's a planet. It's a planet. Yeah. I landed in Thailand. Uh-oh. She landed in, like, Iceland.
3 years ago, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to find each other.
The pod is the size of a coffin. I'll find her. It's also underwater. An unknown depth.
I could understand if Gale knew that she was going to go to her village.
Sure, yeah.
For Salvor to say, someone's calling me there, and to go light years
to the village.
To a different star system, find the right planet.
Find the right address. Let's be clear.
On that planet,
That's
yes.
Like address.
Yes.
Like 101 Water Street, I'm landing.
Yeah, it's like me saying, hey, Alpha Centauri, let's meet up there. And you're like, okay. When? Okay.
And then okay, so then they find each other, but she finds it, right?
Yeah.
Now what are they going to do? They're on a waterlogged planet with no food and no way out and no way to communicate with anybody. Like, how are they going to get off?
They'll figure it out.
And what is their plan? Why did she have to find her? I don't remember if they said or not. Do you know? Yeah, so
look, I think they set up these two characters. It's fun to see different characters interacting.
What a generic statement, but yes.
I mean, it is. Like, if you'd seen, I just think the Huntress and Cleon interacting or something.
Yeah, cool.
Would have been funny. You know exactly how that ends, but
yes.
But anyways, it's interesting. So, I mean, they brought these two characters together. I think they didn't want to waste Silver Harden.
It felt like it's the very last thing you see.
Right, but there's no significance other than the two characters being correct. There's nothing that's like, well,
now
they can do X. Yeah.
No?
And especially they're meeting on Synax.
It'd be like more significant if like Cleon and Gale met or something.
Well, sure.
And now he wants her to like work for him to fix that or something. I don't know.
Or if they met on the ship, on Hari's ship, I would have meant something.
But like these two characters come together, they've never met.
Right. What are they going to do together?
It's her daughter, but like now what do they?
I suppose what they'll end up doing is making the second foundation.
Sure. Isn't there already a second foundation on whatever?
I don't know if
Halcyon, I think.
Oh, the Helicon?
Halcyon is a different thing. From Greek mythology and Halo and etc.
It depends on what they've already done with the second foundation, like how far along they are.
Yeah. And
it might just be like Gale and Salvor have to go together to find it, or maybe they found it. They create the second foundation. Maybe. I don't know how they're going to introduce that concept to us, the audience.
They are alone on a fish planet. Like, what?
Maybe they'll psychic their way out.
Yeah.
Like, call the dolphins. Travel through space. So happens in Hitchhiker's Guide.
Okay. So all that, I was like, what?
Right. It doesn't... make sense. The Empire storyline finished in, like I said, unexpected but inevitable way. It left you with like 2 or 3 big questions, and you understand what those questions are, what they mean, and you're satisfied and looking forward to the next part. Terminus, for all intents and purposes, is dead now. I don't care. Like it's it's gonna happen. They're gonna have like a superpower weapon, and we'll see.
Yeah.
And in this storyline, you're left with nothing but questions. If I had to guess, next season there will be a lot more interaction between Terminus and Trantor, and then between Terminus and the Second Foundation. And that's what the setup is.
I don't know what Gale is gonna do exactly.
It's like Professor X, just
Just gonna make Cerebro out of like waterlogged trees or something.
Yes.
Whatever. So the Terminus stuff didn't like it all for many reasons. So documented.
Yes.
Empire stuff great.
Yes.
And the stuff with Gale and Harry Seldon,
middling.
I liked it. I mean, I think what part of it is that I like the character Gale, right? Like I like her background. It's developed, like you understand where she's coming from.
I like the planet Synax and that entire culture.
I want her to succeed, right? And you want her to whatever. So that kind of carries that a little bit more then. But like the other stuff is,
but the actions that she performs in the second half of the season are,
it feels like all the Terminus stuff, they said like, well, we need to have like action. Like movie action, because the Empire stuff, it's tense, but it doesn't have like fighting action,
right?
And then obviously the stuff with like Gale doesn't have any of that. So it feels like they're like, we need action sequences, we need someone to run after someone, we need like people to shoot at people or point guns at people.
Yeah,
make it happen.
But it means nothing because there's no significance to their actions.
Very like
it's action for action's sake.
Clearly the weakest point.
Yeah. And honestly, it wasn't even shot that well. Like the action scenes.
I mean,
I don't care. I didn't care about them because they meant, like, plot-wise, they were not. I mean, story-wise, I don't really care.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about now?
So, it's draining talking about
things that suck.
Yes, things that you don't like. I don't know how people do it. They just like talk about.
It's somewhat cathartic sometimes.
It is cathartic, but I don't know how people just talk about. How do they just critique things without, like, why would you watch something that you just hate? Or maybe you hate it, or you watch it without realizing you're going to hate it, and then you have to just...
Yeah.
Okay. I suppose. All right, let's talk about some of our favorite moments. How about that?
What? No.
I think so, because there's just a hodgepodge of random things I want to bring up.
Okay, sure. For you.
Dusk says, speaking of Day coming back from Maiden, he says, I doubt his experience has made him serene. That was a very good line. That was very funny.
I like this.
Yeah,
that was awesome. That whole thing was, I was like, oh,
yeah. So the last episode where Day interacts with Azura, which again, 2 characters you don't know interacting, very fun. Chilling because it takes place in the garden.
Yeah.
And
like you kind of don't know where it's gonna go.
You have no idea where it's gonna go.
Is he gonna let her go? Is he gonna kill her? It's like turns to be way, way worse.
That was the most chilling thing I've seen.
Most brutal thing ever.
Yes. So basically, I mean, everybody's seen this, right? But yeah, you have Day, who is ruthless.
Yeah.
And he has, some cracks here and there, but he really cares about Dawn. I really care about Dawn. And you want her to get her comeuppance, but he takes her on this beautiful little stroll. And you think, is he gonna push her into this lake? They have a seat by the lake, and he just kind of describes how, and the numbers he uses, he describes, how many people are related to her, how many friends she has, how many people know of her existence, counts up the whole thing, says what he's gonna do, and you think, well, okay, he's gonna give her some ultimatum, or she's gonna kill herself to save them. And he does this motion and he's like, when I do this, they're all gonna die, or something like that. Yeah. Where I thought, oh, okay, but he hasn't done it yet. That was just a little a test thing, and it's done.
Yeah.
That was so crazy.
Yeah.
And then her punishment is just to be alive,
Yeah.
There were 2 things I thought of to make myself feel better in that very difficult time. One was, well, Lee Pace, or, Empire knows that she exists. That means something. And 2, it's not real. So those things I told myself.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Dude, that was
so brutal.
So brutal, so clinical, like so like the specifics. Like we did like this many nth degrees because that's how many people are separated that know you.
Yeah, and you have a character. You have Dave, who is a little bit sympathetic, but mostly a douche. But you understand where he's coming from, doing this unexpected but kind of inevitable thing to a character who you kind of don't like, but have a lot of sympathy for because that's how you've seen her most of the season.
Yeah,
beautiful, beautiful. That scene was a good scene.
That was a good scene.
Let's see what else I liked. Oh, that's right. I should have said this earlier. Mm-hmm. I have here hilariously contrived clear canoe. When Gale first shows up on Synax, I'm like, what is she going to do now? And she just happened to have
a see-through bottom.
A see-through canoe with her.
Yeah.
How did she get that? When did she get that? If that box that she came in plans for so many inevitabilities that it has a see-through clear canoe, what else did it have that she didn't bring with her?
That's true, yeah.
And it had to be clear because otherwise she wouldn't have seen the blinking light.
Okay.
I was angry.
That's the thing, because it came off that ship, so it's not like she packed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it must have been in the little coffin she came in.
There was also like stuff to make like a hammock and like a fire starting kit and like a.
I was so pissed.
Oxygen tank and stuff.
I was so pissed.
Yeah. I don't know if this is a good time to talk about like a very specific sci-fi minor gripe that I have in general.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it's a gripe because I understand why, but like in sci-fi, every planet that you go to is one biome. The whole planet is one biome. Every time.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the desert planet.
Yeah.
This is the water planet. This is the city planet.
Yes.
And then
Synax and Trantor, yes.
And then every time you go to the planet, it's a planet. It's a planet. Like think about planet Earth, okay?
Well, okay. I will.
But there's only ever one place on it and like 10 people.
Agreed.
It's a planet.
Okay, in my head canon, I can sort of forgive them by saying, hey, you know what? If Earth was like, 10 miles further away from the sun, then maybe we'd all be desert too.
I know. I get it because like you can't convey the entire like biodiversity, all that stuff of like a actual planet. I mean, it's crazy.
Right.
Like everything that you've seen in sci-fi, in every kind of sci-fi, is found on one planet, Earth.
Yes.
So you can imagine how crazy it would be if you actually like went into that detail on a different planet. So I get it, but it always sticks out to me. I'm like, the whole planet's a desert? The whole planet's a forest?
Well, maybe Trantor was like Earth, and now it's all city. That seems like an inevitable.
But it's all city. There's not like a beach. There's not like this is the.
That seems like it would make
Sahara
sense.
Desert.
If you get to a point in the world where you just need housing for trillions or billions of people, and you can just go off world to go to a different beach planet or something for if you're rich.
That's the other thing too. There's always like, this is the vacation planet. The whole planet's Cancun.
Oh, you're not gonna like Star Trek.
Anyway, again, it's a very minor thing because I get it.
Yes.
What else do you got?
I have on here, Terminus should have been about the logistics of starting a new settlement. I think that would have made it very interesting. Even if, like, story-wise, it didn't add much to it or plot-wise. I think seeing, you see Trantor having, like, a contrast with maybe a budding planet. Maybe they do things better than Trantor because Trantor is, stagnating. And they start implementing, new technologies from different parts of the galaxy in a very small, limited way on Terminus. To make the actual, I think, location more exciting would have kept me a lot more interested.
Yeah, like I said, they're not doing anything really.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really get a good grasp of like
static.
They're working towards something or their job's important or whatever.
Also, I hate those kids. Why are those kids there? I don't mind it. It's an interesting group of kids, but they don't add anything. And now they're all going to be dead next season because they're old, right? Like,
I don't know. That's true.
Yeah. So overall, we alluded to it before. Will I keep watching the show? Yes, because I have nothing else to do mostly, and I feel like if I don't watch this show, who will?
Do you think it's a good show? It's hard. It's like a good show glued to an okay show glued to a bad show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep watching.
As long as Lee Pace is in it, I'm gonna keep watching.
Overall, like, I'm glad that I watched the show. I enjoyed the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to keep watching it. So, like, a lot of things maybe came off overly negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it had really low lows and high highs.
And I feel like I will lose interest after the threshold is met to get it canceled. So if it ever gets bad enough to where I'm not watching it, I think it's already going to be canceled.